Hello, in today's video, we'll be going over reports and specifically tables within reports. By the end of this video, we're going to want to make a table that looks like this, just so you can see what we're working towards. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to build a query. So we're going to click New Query. We're going to say Use Query Builder, and we're going to give this query a name. We're going to call this our proj query, like that. And we're going to choose a connection. We're going to choose my connection, and then we're going to continue. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our main table. So for that, we're going to add our project task, and we get to click what fields we want from our project task. So I'm just going to take out a couple things. Let's take out our description and our comments, and let's add this table. Now what we can do is we can add related tables. So we're going to add this one, and we're going to add the title and department. And we're not going to add the project ID because we already have that. So we're going to press add, and then we're going to add another related table. And it's going to be the project employees. And we're going to add the name, basically so that we can translate employee IDs into their actual names. So let's add this table. And now we have all of the different records that we want in our report. So we're going to press OK. And we can see here our project query right here is the one that we have. So let's go to reports. Let's make a new report. Let's call this our proj report. And right here, we're going to want to make sure we click table. In another video, we go over charts. So if you want to know charts, we have that available. We're going to choose our query, and we're going to pick the one that we just created. We're going to press continue. And now we have this. Now notice that this is a little bit different than what we're going for. So we need to set up a couple things. So the first thing that we're going to set up is hiding fields. So first thing that I'm going to hide is our project ID, which is this. And we can press go away. Our assigned to, because these are employee IDs and we don't want to see them. And we will hide a couple more fields when we are ready. But if we notice over here, now our names field has all of the employee names while we still have the employee IDs stored in our database. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use our grouping setting. So if we go to group up here and we click pick a field to group by, we can see that we have a bunch of different options. So I'm going to pick department to group by. And now, if I make this a little bit larger, we can see all of the different departments that are working on projects, and they are all split up very nicely. This means that now we can hide our department field because it's apparent already. We don't need it as a column because it's right here. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to group by a second field. So the next field that we are going to group by is our project title. So what that will look like is if we go here, now we can see all of the different project titles and the different records associated with them. So we have an outer group and then these inner groups that we can do. So generally you want your larger groups first, then your secondary groups. If we flip this around, it won't really make sense, but you can see that it's possible to do that. So we're going to flip that to the other way around, which is the way that we want it. Now we can hide our project title, so we can make that go away. And now we see this looks a lot better than it did before. So now that we have this nice report to look over, the next thing that we're going to do is filtering. So let's say that you want to select records that meet a certain condition. For example, if you want all of the records that are less than 50% complete, we select our field that we want, which is Here's our percent. Oop. This is our percent complete. So let's do percent complete, and we're going to say is less than 50%, right? And we're going to apply. But we notice that there are some fields that don't have a percent complete. So what we can do is, if we go to our filter, is we can add new conditions. And for this one, we can say where they all apply. So all of the conditions have to be true, or we can do it where only one of the condition needs to apply and it can go through the filter. And that's our any. So if we say percent complete is null as well, now we can see all of these different records pop up, even when they don't have a percent complete available. And this filtering you can do for any field. So for example, our expected date is also null. We could also put that into our filter and it'd make these records pop up. But that is filtering. Just keep in mind that if we do all, then no records are going to show up, because all of these things need to be true, and you can see that. The way we get rid of our filters is by clearing, but filtering is useful in that you can select systematically for records that meet your conditions. If you're looking for a record and you just want to look real quick, in the top right, we have incremental search. And basically what incremental search does is it will match the text that you're writing. So for example, if I write complete, we will see all the records that have complete within their field of status. If I delete a couple letters from this, we'll notice that COM matches with complete, but it also matches with competitor. So just keep in mind that incremental search can match with any field. And as long as the string of text that you're writing exists within a field, it will match to it. So just keep that in mind. The incremental search is meant for a more quick way to look for something, look for a record, versus your filtering is a more robust way of taking out the records that you don't want. The next thing that we're going to go over is our sort. And basically what sort does is we can pick a field. So for example, let's go by our name field, basically the name of the employee that's responsible for a project. Notice that you can move fields around like so. You can just drag them. So now that we're sorting by this field, we'll see A is first, then I, then L, and we can do it the other way around like that. What we can do next is we can add a secondary sort. So basically, if there is a tie between two different names, we can add a secondary sort. So let's say, for example, we have status, and it doesn't seem like there's any ties. So let's try this the other way around where, for example, two records are both complete. Now that we have this secondary sort, whenever we swap between our different sorting methods from Z to A or A to Z, we'll notice that, for example, these two records are swapped because it sorts the ties. It's a secondary sort. So that is sorting. The next thing that I want to go over is calculating based off of fields. So for example, we have this estimate over here, right? And one thing that we can do with our estimate is we can calculate based off of the fields. So this is a numerical field. So we can, for example, calculate sums. And we'll notice how our equations line up with our grouping. So we'll notice that for each grouping, we have a sum that is independent of all other groupings. So for example, this new product launch campaign has a sum of 121, right? Our creative department altogether has a sum of 282, right? And if we scroll down, we can see that's true for all of the departments. And at the bottom, we can see the total sum of 502. So if you want to see total sum, just scroll all the way to the bottom. If you want individual groupings and their sums within a report, you can just see them at the top, right? If we close this out, we can see, boom, there's our sum. There's our sum. See, for the creative department, there's our sum. and then the total sum is all the way at the bottom. So that is our equations in Visual DB, and altogether that is reports. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.